Hey everyone, Baldoric here. Today we have the new weapon refines out for four heroes rather, which are Barst, Morgan Female, Jakob, his base dagger one, and Laslow. So I thought what could be a good idea is just to take a quick look at what I think could be some viable builds for these new refines, talk about the refines themselves, show the builds, and unfortunately the unit builder that I typically use doesn't have the weapons yet. So what I did is I just have placeholder weapons with a buff to the attack stat based on what the difference in their base strength is. So for example, for Devil's Axe it has 16 might and Fire Sweep has 15. So I gave it a +1 just so that it's reflecting that attack stat on this the unit builder screen so that you see what the attack stat would be if the axe was on, but it's obviously a little bit different because I don't have the weapons to throw on them in the unit builder, so try to keep that in mind. But I do put the stats on just via buffs, okay? So it is the correct stat, at least it should be, for the units. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about each refine individually. We'll talk about why I built the character the way I did. You're already seeing Barst on the screen. We're going to go down the line here from Barst down to Laslow. So first, let's talk about Barst's weapon since I don't have it on the character himself. It does. It grants attack speed, defense resistance +4 during combat. If the unit attacked, it inflicts 4 damage to the unit. At the start of the turn, if his HP is less than or equal to 75%, and unit attack triggers a special, it gives special cooldown charge -1 and deals +10 damage when the special triggers. So it's like a built-in Fury 3 and Wrath, I believe it is, which is really awesome. So what I have built in here is, because he's got a pretty good defense stat at 30, or at least decent enough, I kind of built just like something that's going to boost that with Ignis, because after you proc Ignis once, I mean, he's pretty much going to be getting it every single time for free, because Special Spiral is going to decrease it by 2. His weapon refine is going to decrease it by 1. So you basically are going to have continuous Ignis, and if he attacks, he's getting, well, first of all, Sturdy Impact is going to give that boost to attack, but also the +10 defense. Sturdy Blow is going to add another +4 to that. So you're getting +14 defense, which puts his defense at 44. So it's going to be a big boost to Ignis, which is really nice. So pretty much this build is capitalizing on his decent defense stat. His weapon refine is going to give him a nice little stat boost, and I didn't even count the just the initial Fury effect on his attack. But I think it's a really solid weapon. I don't think it's the best refine. It's okay, but it definitely has viability. You can use this decently well. There's other builds you can do with this too. This is just an initial thought of just trying to capitalize on max damage, just run into something and hit it real hard with special procking and getting Ignis every time. Fun build with this one. Not my favorite refine out of the set, but I think this could be a pretty fun build to play around with and seeing what you can do if you want to invest. Obviously, this is a heavily invested build to make it work, so that is kind of tough. There's low invest versions, but I'm not getting into that today. I just want to show a fun build you can do with it. So the next character I want to talk about is Morgan. Now, Morgan's refine, obviously the refine's not there, but it's called Father's Tactics. At the start of combat, if unit's res is greater than foe's res, grants attack speed defense +4 during combat. And then in addition to that, grants attack and speed 3 to allies within 2 spaces during combat, and if unit is within 2 spaces of an ally, it grants attack and speed +3 to unit during combat. So this unit actually becomes a really good support unit. It itself gets buffed, which is great because all these stats coming in are really good to make it with all the stats that are coming in, you can get +7 attack and +7 speed, which is going to put her attack stat up to 58 and her speed up to 37. Not even counting some of the other things, I have joint hone speed going here and attack and res link. Now the reason I use shove instead of smite, her effect requires you to be within 2 spaces, so smiting will actually take you out of range of this effect. You could still use her as a smite unit if you have other ways of bringing her into like range to be within the 2 spaces, so she becomes a really good support unit. But she also buffs herself, which makes her decent on her own. So the joint hold speed is nice because that's going to be a big buff to her and whoever else she is buffing. In addition to the attack and speed +3 she's already going to be giving out to that unit or herself, depending on what it is. I'm sorry, not herself, the other units. The attack and speed, defense, resist +4 is what goes to her. My mistake. So she actually is going to be giving, like, what is it? Oh yeah, I was right about that. She gives attack and speed +3 to herself, and then attack speed +3 to other allies. So, let's talk about what is good with her. She's a fantastic buffer. I think she's going to work as a good support unit on Aether raids. I could see her with some arena viability if she is the bonus unit, but besides that, I don't think I would really use her as a support unit over like Red Mail Corn or something like that. But definitely viable. Good support unit, can be placed, especially in a flyer team. I think she can actually be really good in a flyer team, and you could swap out the joint hone speed for something like Hone Flyers or Goad Flyers or something like that. So I think she definitely has some viability. Definitely a good support unit. There's other builds that work here too, but this is like an initial make sure she survives and buffs units around her kind of thing. So, let's move on from that. Jacob's an interesting one. I'm not a huge fan of this refine. Definitely has some use. So I put him with the standard close counter vantage set, but let me read his weapon refine. If he initiates combat and inflicts attack, speed, defense, resistance -4 on foe during combat. He also inflicts Dagger 7, which, as we know, inflicts defense res -7 on target foes within 2 spaces. Pretty much, it's defense and res smoke -7. Now, the other thing that he has, though, which is kind of interesting, if he's within 3 spaces of an ally whose HP is less than 100%, it gives him attack, speed, defense, resistance +4 during combat. So, here's the thing. That's pretty good. I don't know if I can see him as an amazing close counter vantage sweeper. It definitely can work. I think with investment, it can definitely work as well. But I think there's better options out there. I still personally think that Matthew and what's her name? I can't think of her name right now. From the new games, Three Houses. I can't think of her name. But I think those are the best 2 Vantage Sweepers in the game at the moment. And obviously, a lot of people put that up for debate. But I personally have great success using Matthew, and I might do a video on him at a later time. The thing with this build is that it's conditional. All of his skills are very conditional depending on what happens. So, like, if he doesn't initiate combat, the minusing of attack, speed, defense, resistance -4 doesn't happen. So on enemy phase, he doesn't get that, which kind of hurts him. But if he initiates combat and you have the other smokes going here, right, you're inflicting like all of the stats. You're getting attack, speed, defense, and resistance because of his dagger on every single unit within 2 spaces, which is actually pretty good. You just have to make sure you get him into vantage range. Decent at surviving. He might actually be better on defense than attack. In fact, I would definitely say he's better on defense than attack. But I think he does a pretty good job with this. You could do other builds, maybe not close counter vantage, but that's just how I see him right now. Something to play around with. I think he's going to be better on defense than on offense, but maybe I'm wrong. We'll take a look at some builds as he comes out more a little bit and we get to see him in play. This is some initial thoughts of mine. So let's move on to the last one, which is Laslow. Laslow, I think, is one of the most interesting refines that have come out yet. And mostly because it's not something we've seen super, like, we don't see this refine, like, I think at all. I think it's a unique refine. So what it does is if a movement assist skill like reposition, shove, pivot, whatever is used by base unit or target's unit, by unit or target unit, grant attack, speed, defense, resistance +4 to target or targeting ally and allies within 2 spaces of unit and target or targeting ally for 1 turn after movement. A lot of words there, but pretty much what it's saying is that if you use a movement skill, just buff attack speed, defense, resistance +4 to like target or targeting ally within 2 spaces, and all allies within 2 spaces, they get all those buffs. Okay, which is pretty cool. So really, what you want to do with that is like have a support unit that can like smite or shove him in and do something like that, but probably shove because you want to be in that 2 space range. Also, if unit is within 3 spaces of 2 or more allies who each have a total bonus greater than or equal to 10, grant attack defense +3 during combat and unit attacks twice. What's good about this? This can happen on enemy phase, which pretty much gives him a brave effect on enemy phase. So if you're using a Vantage, that can be really useful for that. So you have to make sure though that the buffs on the units that are close to him are +10, or greater than or equal to +10 rather. So you're gonna want to you do need to like snipe Panic Manners, because that can really affect his the way he gets buffed and the way his effect goes off. Excuse me. But it does give him a pretty good advantage to other sword sweepers in the game. I think this actually is going to capitalize on something that hasn't really been done with the Red Sword Infantry. I think he's really good at, and I mean there are definitely good Red Sword Infantries for close counter or distant counter sweepers, but I think he's actually going to do a really good job of this while also buffing the allies around him, which kind of gives team support and Vantage sweeper ability, which is really cool. Decent attack stat, and depending on what your allies are around him with buffs and things like that, depending on what season you're doing this on, he could be a real beast when it comes to something like this. Now, you're going to want to, like, especially if he gets into, like, Brazen range, which he should, because you're going to try to get him hurt for Vantage range, his stats are, like, really good for this. It has skyrocketed Laslow from, like, not a great unit to, honestly, probably one of the better Vantage sweepers in the game. So I think out of these, this might be the one that I invest in and actually try using, because I think this is the best refine that has come out of this refine wave. But we'll see. We'll see if there's anything different that comes out, or maybe I'm looking into this incorrectly, or there's better ways to do it. But that's how I see all these builds. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you like what you saw, comment down below. Let me know if you like the builds, or if you have anything different. Maybe I made a mistake. Maybe there's a build you like better. Let me know in the comments below. Like the video if you like it. Subscribe if you like the channel. You can follow all my social medias. It's all on my page, my Twitter, my Twitch, all at Baldoric. But again, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you next time.